Hi guys, Marco here and welcome to a new English class. Simple past tense. Now in today's class we are going to be studying the simple past. So, the simple past is used to talk about a completed action in a time before now. The time of the action can be in the recent past or the distant past, and the action direction is not important. Now, first of all, we are going to be studying the past simple with the verb to be. Okay, in the simple present tense, we use am, we use is, and we use are. Okay. Now in the simple past tense, we're going to be using was, and we are going to be using were. Okay. So, we use the verb to be in present and in past for the same things, for describing people, for talking about places, for expressing or telling how the weather is, and so many other cases. Okay, so the uses of the verb to be are the same either in present or in past. Now, we use was for the personal pronouns I, he, she, and it, and we use were for the personal pronouns you, they, and we. Let's see some examples. In these two cases, we have two affirmative sentences, okay? Like, she was in Kentucky when her husband died, or you were at the neighbor's house at 8 p.m. So in these cases, in the negative structures or forms, we can say she was not in Kentucky when her husband died. So was not has a contraction, wasn't, and you were not at the neighbor's house at 8 p.m. In this case, the contraction between were and not is weren't. We can also make questions. For example, where were you when I called you? The answer could be, I was with my sister in her bedroom. I did not listen to you. We can also make yes and no questions, like, were they happy with the gifts? So we can answer yes they were, or no they weren't. Also the long answers, like yes they were happy with the gifts, or no they were not happy with the gifts. So remember, the contraction for was not is wasn't, and the contraction for were not is weren't. So this is the verb to be in past. Now, verb to be is an irregular verb, okay, because it changes depending on the tense. For example, in present, I told you we have am, is, and are. Now in past, we have was and were. So the structure or the order of the word, the letters, change. Now, when talking about simple past, we have two different kind of verbs. We have regular verbs and irregular verbs. First, let's start studying the regular verbs because they have such a specific pronunciation. Okay, to change a present form verb in present to a past form verb, in like 90% of the cases, we're only going to add ed. For example, the verb walk, you add ed, walked. Okay, so this is in present, this is in past. For example, work, this is in present, this is in past. For example, listen, this is in present and this is in past. Okay, in the most of the cases we only have to add the ed to the base form and it will be in past, in its past form. So in English, the ed sound has 3 different pronunciations. Okay, we have D, we have T, and we have ID. Okay, when the final sound of the present form based verb, the final sound is L, N, R, G, V, S, Z, B, or M, the ed sound sounds like a D. Let's work with examples, okay? Like, for example, the first verb is call. The final sound is an L, like this shows. So call. To change to past form, we say call and we add ed, right? Now, you cannot say call it. That's bad, that is incorrect. But you can say called. Okay? The ed sound is like a D. It's like this, called. Okay? The next case, an N, we say clean in present, right? Clean, sorry. To change this verb to past form, add ed. Cleaned. Yeah? So the ed sound sounds like a D. Clean, cleaned. Okay, it's not cleaned, it's cleaned. Cleaned. Let's continue. For example, with the verb love. Love. In this case, we only have to add the D. Yes? And we do not say loved, but we say loved. Like this. The ed sound sounds like a D. Like a D. Okay? For example, I loved her when I was, let's say, younger. Okay? Now, the T sound is like easier because it's stronger, it's louder. For example, let's start with the verb help. The pronunciation is help. Yes, the final sound sounds like a P. So you add ed, but the ed sound gets like a T, like helped, helped. Next case, when the final sound is a K sound, like look, look. You see, K sound. We add ed and we say looked, looked. Yes, you pronounce the K and you pronounce the T. Okay, this is the way you write the verb. This is the way you pronounce the verb. Let's see another case. For example, let's say fixed. Fixed. This is in present. Now in past, fixed. The pronunciation is something like this. Fixed. Yes? Now, the third case of the ed pronunciation is an id. For example, when the verb finishes with a T, like want, we add ed and we say wanted. Wanted. Or need, we say, sorry, say needed. Okay. Okay, so this is the way we change present verbs to past verbs and the way we pronounce those verbs in the past. Now we also have the irregular past tense verbs. For example, or well, in these cases, the structure of the verb changes. Okay, let's see some examples. For example, when you say buy in present, it changes to bought. When you say, for example, do, it changes to did. When you say eat, it changes to ate. When you say know, it changes to knew. When you say, it changes to said. Tell changes to told. Okay, so this is like the most important verbs, or the most common ones in the English language. So now let's see some examples, like affirmative, negative sentences, also questions in the past simple form. So I went downtown to get some snacks. In this case, we have to use the subject, the verb in past, and the complement. Here, she called me last night asking for you. Okay, in this case, she called me. Okay, listen to the pronunciation, called. It's like this, called me, because the final sound is an L. Okay, so she called me last night asking for you. In this case, we did not want to go to that party. Okay, when you have negative sentences, you have to use the verb in the infinitive or the present form. Okay, for example, you say we did not know, or we didn't know about that, for example. Okay, so we have to change the verb form only in affirmative sentences, like in these two cases. Okay, went is the past form of go, and call is the past form of the verb call. Now, in these cases, we say we did not want to go to that party, or they didn't use the recommendations. Okay, now we use notice that we use the auxiliary did for negative sentences and questions. Okay, in present simple we used to use do and does. Now we only have did. Okay, so if you have the auxiliary form, the verb keeps in infinitive. It means you don't have to change the verb to the past form. Now in questions, works like in this way, like did you study for the test? Okay, in this case we use the auxiliary form, the subject, the verb, and the rest of the sentence. For example, yes I did, or yes I studied for the test. Notice that in this case the verb is in past. Okay, or no I did not study for the test. I notice that in this case the verb keeps in infinitive, it doesn't change. Yeah, like where is it? Oh well, it's not here, is it? No. Anyway, it doesn't matter. In this case, no I did not study for the test. We only change the verb in the affirmative sentence. Okay, finally, with open questions like where did you work, we can say I worked. Yeah, the final sound of the verb is a K. Like, where is it? Like K, so it sounds like a T, right? I worked in a bakery. Okay, so in today's class we saw the definition of the simple past tense. We also saw the verb to be in the past form. Remember, we use was and we use were. We saw the pronunciation of the ed sound in regular verbs in their past form. We also studied some of the irregular past tense verbs in English, and we also practiced some sentences, affirmative, negative, and some questions. Okay, so guys, that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.